Topics in post-harvest technology. Pre-cooling methods. Hydrocooling, Part 1. In Part 1, we will discuss the advantages and disadvantages of hydrocooling and the types of hydrocoolers used in the specialty crop industry. Pre-cooling is the rapid removal of heat from a commodity before it is placed in storage, before it is shipped. The key idea here is that it is the rapid removal of heat from a commodity. Pre-cooling helps to maximize shelf life by rapidly reducing a product's respiration rate and its rate of water loss. Pre-cooling reduces refrigeration requirements in storage and during the transportation of produce. Hydrocooling involves the use of cold water, usually 32 to 34 degrees Fahrenheit, to remove the heat from freshly harvested commodities. So what are the advantages of hydrocooling? Well, it's a very quick method, and wilting of produce is not a problem since water is being applied to the tissues. There is some limited water absorption, which leads to firming of commodities, which increases their shelf life and their marketability. There's some limited washing of the produce. If there's dust on the product from the field, the hydrocooling process will help to wash this off. It's also a versatile pre-cooling method and can be used with a number of commodities. With respect to disadvantages, it's relatively expensive to build and operate a hydrocooler. It also requires the use of waterproofed, waxed or resin-impregnated boxes. Untreated fiberboard, when wet, loses much of its structural strength, and cartons on pallets can collapse due to product weight. Waterproof boxes are more expensive, and they're more difficult to recycle than non-waterproof boxes. One must use a disinfectant in the cooling water to reduce the spread of decay organisms. The boxes that are used must have the proper venting, which refers to the size and number of vents in each box so that there's proper flow-through of water during the cooling process. You don't want to have hot spots where the water has not contacted the produce, allowing it to remain warm. Warm produce has a higher respiration rate, so it will age and decay more quickly, and it has the potential to heat cooler produce around it. So what are the types of hydrocoolers? First, there's a batch hydrocooler. This is a schematic of a batch hydrocooler. A number of pallets are placed in the hydrocooler at one time. The water's turned on, the water flows over and through the boxes, cooling the product, and then the water is recirculated. Notice at the top that there's an evaporator, which is part of the refrigeration system associated with the hydrocooler. The recycled water that passed over and through the boxes flows over the cold coils of the evaporator and is recooled before flowing again over the cartons of product. Since the cooling water can wash off dust from the product, it can get dirty, so how often do you need to change the water? At least once a day, maybe twice a day, depending on how dirty the product is. Here's a photo showing two batch hydrocoolers. One is empty, the other one has a number of plastic crates with product that is being cooled. In this photo, the empty batch hydrocooler has been turned on to show the spray of water that comes down. Please notice the little sign at the top that says organic only. This is a dedicated batch hydrocooler for organic products. The disinfectants that are used in the water must be at the level and also must be approved by the USDA as meeting the criteria for organic products. There's also an organization called OMRI, OMRI, the Organic Materials Review Institute, that helps to establish which products are organic production compatible and which ones are not. Here we have a close-up of an operating hydrocooler showing the plastic crates and the water flowing over and through the product. In this case, the product is cilantro, and the cilantro is being rapidly cooled by the cold water. Notice also the wooden pallets. The wooden pallets are being supported by a metal screen. The water flows through the screen into a tank. It's pumped back up to the top of the hydrocooler where it's recooled before flowing back down over the crates. In this photo, which is also of a batch hydrocooler, there are 12 pallets of celery being cooled. What you should notice here is that there is a screen above the pallets. The screen is breaking up the flow of the water to reduce both its velocity and the size of the droplets. The slower, smaller droplets impact the product with less force, reducing the potential damage to the product. This is a video showing a hydrocooler in operation.
So we're here at Tanamura and Anil in
TNA.
Salinas.
Yes.
And you are Jose Campos.
Jose Campos, yes.
And you're actually the cooler manager here.
Yes.
So now we're looking at a hydro shower. Would you explain what's going on, please?
So a hydro shower process is anything that's we pack for ice. Is now a lot of customers are taking iceless. So for example, right now in our broccoli, we're probably up to over 50% of it is iceless. So this is the cooling process we use. Water is about 34, 36 degrees. We run it for about 20 minutes. Purpose of that is getting the heat out of the product, bring it down to about 40 to 45 degrees is what we do. Once it's run through that cycle, put it in the cold room, and the ambient temperature of the cold room will bring it down to the 34, 36. We like to hold it for 24 hours if possible. If we need it right away, we let the product drain down and we'll put it in our pressure room to do the rest, bring it down another 6 degrees.
Okay.
So for the most part, we like to hold it 24 hours.
To get it down to
34, 36.
And then you put it on a truck.
Yes.
Okay. And I see that you have two of them here.
Correct. This is conventional and that's for our organic product.
Okay, so the empty one right now is organic.
Yes.
I see.
So right now it's 40 degrees. Once it starts running, it'll start cooling down. You can actually catch a load coming in right now.
A 12-pallet forklift is used to load the hydro washer, also known as a hydrocooler, with product. The cold water enters openings in the top of the boxes, filtering down over the product, removing heat. Waxed fiberboard boxes must be used with a hydrocooler, as unwaxed boxes, when wet, would lose their structural strength and the pallets would collapse.
Our next type of hydrocooler is a tunnel hydrocooler. This is a schematic of a tunnel hydrocooler. Product enters one end of the tunnel. As it moves through the tunnel, cold water rains over the product, removing the heat. You'll notice at the bottom, there's a water reservoir. As before with the batch hydrocooler, that water is brought back up to the top where it goes over refrigeration coils. The water's recooled and then the process starts over again. One can control the final temperature of the product leaving the tunnel by adjusting how quickly the conveyor belt moves through the tunnel. In this photo, we see packed boxes of asparagus that are going into a tunnel hydrocooler. And please notice above the tunnel, the cold evaporator coils with frost on their ends. Here are green onions, also known as scallions. Before they were packed, they went through a tunnel hydrocooler. The ladies here are placing the green onions on a conveyor belt. The onions go through the tunnel where they are showered with cold water. When the onions come out the other end, they are then packed into boxes. Here's a photo showing bulk carrots that are being hydrocooled. After they're hydrocooled, the excess water is removed, and these carrots are packed in small polyethylene bags or put bulk into polybag lined boxes for shipment. Our last type of hydrocooler is a tank hydrocooler. With this hydrocooling system, you have a tank of cold water. The product moves in on a conveyor. The conveyor belt moves into the water and the product either remains on the conveyor to be submerged or floats in the water. Either way, the product is rapidly cooled. As the conveyor continues to move, the product is picked up again at the other end of the tank and is carried out. The product comes in warm and leaves cold. After it leaves the tank, the excess water is sponged or blown off and the product is packed. Other uses. Hydrocoolers are often used with muskmelons, also known as cantaloupes, and tree fruits such as pears, nectarines, and cherries. This method is also used with vegetables such as watermelons, bell peppers, cucumbers, cilantro, parsley, broccoli, celery, and sweet corn. Summary points. Precooling is the rapid removal of product heat before storage or transport. Hydrocooling is a precooling method which utilizes cold water to remove the field heat from commodities. It is relatively rapid, prevents water loss from commodities, and may hydrate and clean commodities to a limited extent. However, it is expensive to build and operate a hydrocooler. A disinfectant must be used in the cooling water. Waterproof boxes must be used, and containers must be designed properly to allow adequate water flow over product. There are 3 types of hydrocooler: batch, tunnel, and tank. Hydrocooling is a versatile precooling method and is used with a number of fruits and vegetables.